So rental application forms are very much set out for a particular kind of applicant, someone who works full-time and whose information is very simple and straightforward.
It would be easier or necessary for them to be in plain English so that people with a disability can understand them and be able to fill them out easier instead of asking for someone to help you.
A one size or a one method application doesn't work for everybody else. You may find a great tenant who has an intellectual disability or who is on the autism spectrum. How would you know that unless you give them a chance with how best suits them?
So if you can simplify the form, make it easier for people with intellectual disability and take into consideration that they have the same basic human rights as any person without a that hasn't got a disability that wants to go for that particular rental property.
I would be trying to make sure that I have support to do the processes that I need to do and the application forms and the phone calls, and I would let the real estate agent know that, I may have a friend or someone who will be supporting me to do things or who may answer their queries if they have any, so that they're aware of that.
My support worker was great for the whole application and even finding a place as well. They made the effort to go around to the places with me and have a look. And whilst we were talking with the estate agent at different times, sometimes the estate agent would direct the questions to the support worker, which was a bit annoying because I'd filled in my support worker with all the information we thought was relevant before we got there. When we did come to do the paperwork and that, it was a much simpler process. If I was just to do it on my own, there's no way I would have done it.
But I think particularly because these forms are now online, there's tick boxes, and if you don't fit within the way it's set up, if your life doesn't fit in with the way it's set up, it can be a little bit difficult to get that information across.
I had to apply for the one form, which you do online, which is complicated and hard to understand and complete. Because you need an online account with the vid08, and then you need to link that account to the one form and all that. So it's just hard to do, but I was lucky that the real estate I went through still did a paper trail, which was a lot more easier.
What happens if I don't have a computer? I feel like I'm being discriminated against because I can't get the information. I don't know how to use a computer. Again, I feel like I'm being discriminated. I might not understand the language. Again, I'm being discriminated. All I would like is a simple, easy to read form that I could answer. And if I needed that little bit of support, then I can get it.
Quite often there is a question somewhere, any other information. Well, there used to be with paper applications. I presume that question would be there with an online application. That is my spot to actually say what I want in positive ways about what I do, how I've gone about it, and show that I have a nice, calming influence and a positive impact and effect on the people around me. And a key one is demonstrating that I get on well with my neighbours.
When I'm filling out rental application forms, I have to think about what my income looks like. I said previously that I received the DSP. I also work. My work is a little bit sporadic, but it is, consistently I do have enough to pay the rent, though. I've been paying rent for 10 years and not missed a payment. So I am a reliable renter.
Well, I'd have to produce ID probably. I'd have to prove that I could pay my rent. That's easily done through Centrelink. I think it's called Centre Pay, where your rent is deducted before your pension even goes into your bank. So for an example, figures I can work with, $800 is what I'm getting. $600 is rent. That's already taken out. So what money goes into my bank is $200. That $200, I know that I've got light, I've got gas, I've got water, electricity. I know all of that. But if I can get the help and support to know how to put money aside for that, then I think everybody will be happy.
I'm lucky in the fact that I have property in Adelaide, which bolsters my measly pension payout. So that makes me more attractive to property managers. If I didn't have the real estate in Adelaide, I really don't know if I would have been able to get this house.
They ask for reference, and if you're just leaving home or that, you might not have any references. So how can you deal with that? Or the reference that you did have ages ago no longer around, so who do you go for then? So yeah, it's really hard sometimes.
If you have to supply so many different things, from so many different pieces of information from different areas of your life, as somebody with a cognitive disability, it can get quite overwhelming.
It's not easy for someone with a cognitive disability in regards to forms in general. And then when they're asking things where you've got to try and remember back, like they're asking for the background of your rental history, and you're going, I don't know, I lived here for so long and I don't know any more details. So not the forms and to apply for a place, I understand why they ask for that sort of thing, but there should be some concessions there, and maybe easy English, plain English versions of those forms available.
It's still a lot of chasing up for evidence of, they want rental history of the past 10 years, 10 years, which sometimes is really difficult to chase up because sometimes agents have closed down or the agent has moved on. But the actual forms I do find quite easy, but forms are my forte. I'm pretty good at forms. It hasn't really been an issue for me. However, I haven't disclosed anything about my stature on those forms because there's this innate thing in me that I don't want to jeopardise that. I mean, I'm already a single woman moving into a property. I don't want to have them think, it's also a person with a disability that comes with extra baggage. So I want to be considered on the merits of my application, not on any preconceived ideas.
Yeah, I think even the Office of Housing one can be more accessible, and it really surprised me when I had to fill it all out, how it wasn't really accessible, and it asked you every question in the book, all apart from maybe how many times in a day do you wipe your bum and nose, and it's just like, why do they need to know that? There's just some questions in it that, and you've got to answer because you're afraid if you leave it blank, then you might not even get on the list.
Real estate agents were incredibly intimidating to me, and they didn't seem interested in giving me a property, which was really frustrating for a period of time when I had worked out that I needed to live by myself. So I was trying to find a one-bedroom flat that would work for me. And I found it really hard. And I actually didn't get anywhere. And I was lucky because I met a friend of a friend, and we went looking for houses together. And because he was male, we appeared as a couple, and we very quickly were, he took care of filling out the form, and we very quickly got a house.
I would suggest even writing a letter to the landlord, just introducing yourself and put it in with your application. I did that with my last 2 properties. I wrote a letter introducing myself. Hi, I'm Lisa. I work 4 days a week for the same organisation that I've been working for 12 years. I enjoy doing yoga, gardening. I'm fit and healthy and active. I love getting out and running. And I will take care of your property as though it were my own, because having a comfortable home to invite my friends around to share a meal with is really important to me. So yeah, I think those are the 2 top tips really. Know your budget, know what you can afford, and introduce yourself and be confident.
People go through real estate agent process and survive it. Good, I can't believe it, but it is doable. In fact, a friend has just got herself a new lease on a place, and I can't imagine the kind of courage it took to do that. I mean, I just know that if I walk into any real estate agent, hey, and even though I've got, this great, work thing and all this and money and this and this and that and the other, they're going to take one look at me and be like, you know what I mean? So I just think you've got to be really sort of a bit, talkative, loud, upfront, positive, upbeat, and lots of good luck.
If you're going to weigh us up with someone who's able-bodied, we're probably a lot better because we'll stay there till you tell us to move probably, and because we don't tend to want to move unless we have to.
The landlord always makes the final decision on rental applications. Property managers who might meet all the applicants and may shortlist applicants, but the landlord would always choose according to whatever their mindset is.
If the agent has actually met me and has taken me through the property, does the agent disclose, this woman is short-statured, for example, or this person has a disability, this person used a walking stick, for example? Because I haven't often met my actual landlords. I've only known the agent.
If you own your own house and you're renting that out, so I have to go through a real estate agent. And it's just my personal feeling, but I feel sometimes like I filled in the forms, I filled on the application, I signed everything, that's gone back to you. You find out that I've got a disability, or you find out that I've got a pension. This person's going to be no good. They're not going to pay the rent. So I'm not even considered. I'd like to see an open playing field where if you're renting your house, that I am part of somebody wanting to do that. Come and talk to me about how am I going to pay the rent? How am I going to make sure it's paid? The Centrelink has got some direct debit. So before I see my full pension, the rent component goes out and goes into your account. So that's one way that you can make sure that I'm getting the rent.
Landlords and real estate agents look at applications, they look to see who's full-time employed. I think heterosexual couples often get preference. I think that's seen as stability. I think, people with children, maybe not very young children, they might be seen as, young children might draw on the walls or whatever, but I think having older children might be seen as stability from the perspective of a landlord. I think, couples, again, two full incomes, so 2 full-time working people might have an advantage when it comes to the application process. I think they'd be looking within a certain age range as well as preferable. I think people who are younger are seen as less reliable. People who are a lot older might be seen as not able to take care of the place. So there might be some discrimination against retirees as well as sort of uni students. It might be viewed as more of a risk. I think women are sometimes seen as preferable in terms of they might be more likely to look after a flat. I think like a man living alone might be perceived as, he's going to be a bachelor, he might not look after the place. This is all stereotypes. This is not necessarily I'm making some assumptions here. I have not been on the other side of this, but I think this is what I assume the discrimination looks like in the process.